Quick introduction to PPC advertising. Right now there are two major players in the PPC space, Google AdWords and Bing/Yahoo. Google AdWords owns 65% of the market, and it kind of floats around between 65 and 75%. They have relationships with a lot of other search engines where they feed results to them. Bing and Yahoo own probably about 20% of the market, and then there are a lot of secondary players, and then there are also additional players that aren't quite search-based, companies like LinkedIn, Facebook, Business.com, where they have pay-per-click models, but they're not based on the search engine serving the ad. They're more based almost as a display ad. PPC is great in that it can be very cost effective, it can be very trackable. A lot of marketing before computers really came to the fore, it was hard to track your performance. You'd put out a campaign, you'd buy a newspaper insertion or a magazine insertion, and you'd have to kind of take data secondhand and infer sales and performance. With PPC, you can actually tie the marketing directly to the sale. It's one of the best direct response mechanisms out there. Because of this, it allows for a very tight tie into your ROI tracking. And PPC campaigns, due to their nature, can be very dynamic. You do not need to buy an insertion that commits you to months of ads and impressions on a website or inches in a newspaper or a magazine. You can turn it on, turn it off very quickly. For most PPC ads, you don't need to worry about graphic creative. There are some exceptions to this we'll speak about, but most of the time it's just straight text ads. Now your downsides for PPC advertising is a lot of people get very competitive with the bidding, and they feel they need to be the first ad on the page. And a lot of times these people are so competitive, they're not really thinking about, does it make sense for me from a financial standpoint to be the first ad on the page? They're just thinking, I need that territory, I need to own that. That can be a challenge. By participating in PPC, you give people a pretty good idea what you're willing to spend on to acquire a lead or a sale. Everybody's in the same auction environment. You can make them some assumptions based on your competitors' bids, and you can get a really good idea of how much they're willing to spend to get that sale. And they can get the same thing from you. So that kind of opens you up a little bit. Not too bad though. And then last but not least, as opposed to traditional SEO, organic optimization, or even buying an ad in a trade magazine, as soon as you stop paying for it, it's done. The traffic is shut off. You don't have any pass along factor. With SEO, you do the work and it's going to last for 2 or 3 years. PPC is on and off. PPC is really, really good at getting the front end of the funnel here. Your awareness, your consideration, and your conversion. It can help a little with loyalty and help a little with advocacy, but it's really a front of the funnel medium. And PPC can be something that you use to fill up a very broad funnel where you're not going to be able to convert the sale for 6, 8, 12 months. Something where it's going to be much more of a consultative sale and you're trying to gather the lead versus just immediately convert. PPC can be incredibly good at that. Now, in addition to the traditional search network advertising where you bid on a keyword and anytime somebody uses that in a search, your ad appears next to it, you can also take advantage of Google's display network and Bing's contextual network. These have a lot of the same functionality that you have for the search network in that you can bid on keywords. And it's a cost per click versus a cost per thousand pricing structure. But the difference here is where with paid search and appearing next to the search engines, you have this really qualified self-selected lead where somebody's already looking for information. With the contextual networks, the display networks, you're trying to interrupt somebody's attention from an article, a video, or something else. You're trying to get in there, and it's much more like a television commercial versus something where somebody's already engaged in searching for information. So that's the big difference. Now, the targeting's first rate. You can get a lot of exposure here. Google says that they believe you can get to 90% of all internet users by participating in their display network. They've gotten much better at targeting your ads to the right user based on a number of different things we'll talk about later. So it can be very good, but it's not quite as effective as straight search engine marketing. Now, the one other difference is it's not just limited to text ads. You can also have pretty much any type of display ad, banners, boxes, videos, rollovers, pop-unders, flash movies, is only limited to the ad types that the different sites allow. So any site that signs up for Google to deliver these display ads, you're able to go ahead and get in there and play with it. The downside of that is you need to bring in a second team to help develop the graphic creative. One last thing on the display network, it's also where you do a lot of your remarketing, your follow-on targeting. And that can be a very effective thing. When somebody's come to your website, you can sit there and say, you've been to my website, you've gone to these 4 pages, I can serve you a set of ads based on those 4 pages you've gone to that are going to be responsive to what you've done. And these ads will follow you around the internet. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the advantages and disadvantages of that later when we get to targeting, but remarketing is a very, very strong element of the display network. Some of the different places you can appear, any type of device, mobile, tablet, desktop, lots of different types of site. We have a kitchen site here, we have poetry, we have the New York Times. Pretty much any site that signs up you can appear on. And like I said, it hits about 90% of the overall internet market, so it's not a bad place to play.